Hey guys, welcome back to the third and final installment in the Eowyn Shieldmaiden dress series. It is time to finish this outfit. So the dress itself, the Shieldmaiden chemise, if you will, is done. We finished that in the last video and it looks fantastic. But I do feel like it's just missing that last element that Eowyn has in her dress, which makes this dress so recognizable and iconic. And that is the brown vest corset top that she wears. It is probably made up of two pieces, a vest and a corset top. They are made of two different fabrics and they are embroidered differently, and then of course the vest is just like a t-shirt basically, and the corset top has a lace back. For my actual gown, which is sitting right next to me here, I have already deviated from the actual original Shieldmaiden dress in several ways, but I think with this top I'm really gonna go off book and just do something that is inspired by it but very different. Most of the qualms that I have with this dress are in fact in this top, this vest corset top thing. I don't really like the silhouette of it very much. Long torso silhouette that I don't personally like very much, and I don't think it's the best fit for my body type. So I am gonna change a couple of things about the shape. I have this pattern here that I want to use for that. The Butterick Mrs. corset pattern. It's not a corset because it's not boned obviously, but it has the lace shape, so we're gonna go with the term corset as the pattern calls it. And I'm probably gonna just use view A, but I'm gonna have to alter this quite heavily to get it closer to the Eowyn shape. This pattern comes with a lace front, a closed back. It is fairly deeply cut in the front. I'm gonna have to heighten that neckline a little bit. I am gonna put the lace in the back, so I'm gonna probably cut the front on the fold or just in two pieces and have lacing down the back. But I have to think about how I want to do this, because obviously on the original, the lace is only on the bottom, and I do think it might look a bit strange if it laces all the way up to the neck. I'll have to think on that. Maybe I won't do it and I'll just do the lace down the front, even though that's not what it's supposed to be like. I am gonna use the general shape of this, like the bodice shape, so it's gonna end at the waist, which is obviously different, but I did mention that I like waist emphasis, and the chemise has waist emphasis as well. So I'm gonna stick to that. I'm also going to create the little sleeve caps. This pattern doesn't come with that, it just has straps. So I'm gonna add a little bit of fabric here to create those little capped sleeves that Eowyn has on her top as well. And another thing I'm gonna do is use different fabric. On her, the top looks like kind of like a suede-ish fabric, whereas the bottom is quilted. I'm gonna just use something completely different and use this fabric that I have right here. I actually found this in my stash and that's what prompted me wanting to make this top. It's this fabric right here, which almost looks like a leather of some kind. I suppose you could say this is kind of similar to a suede type fabric. It's synthetic, obviously from the inside it's just this like shiny material, but I think this is very beautiful and very fitting for the style that we're going for. Just like with linen instead of silk, I do think that fabric that invokes leather goes with the Rohirrim lifestyle, so I think this should work for the dress. So I'm gonna use that, and then her top is embroidered in gold thread embroidery. Given how tricky it was to even embroider just the neckline on my chemise, there we go. The neckline on the chemise here, I embroidered that with my machine and it was quite a hassle, and this is a simple pattern. Now the corset top requires a much more complicated pattern. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is I bought two kinds of trim that I'm going to apply to this corset top to kind of evoke that feeling. This right here, absolutely stunning. It is gold on black trim, fairly large. So I think I'm gonna use this on the sleeve caps, and then I have a second type. It's a similar color and a style that kind of goes with it, but it's not exactly the same. This is a much simpler, thinner trim, also black on gold, but it has a little kind of like a braid texture to it. And I would like to use this around the edges, maybe around the bottom of the top. So, okay, those are my plans. I have very little fabric. That little scrap that I just held up is all I have left from this fabric. I think I used this to make a costume for like this steampunk-ish costume. Yeah, anyway, I have a little bit of it left. I'm gonna have to use a stiffer lining fabric because this is not sturdy enough to hold the weight of being laced in even loosely. But I think maybe I should start by making a mock-up just to test my shape and my lacing. Looking at this photo of Eowyn, I think we need to just drastically change the neckline. The more I'm thinking about this, by the way, the more I think I should just leave it front lacing. I personally just like it better that way, and it'll probably be the easiest for me to make as well, and to like dress myself when it's front lacing. Make this quite a bit higher. Let's start with here, and I can always remove more if needed. The top should be a subtle V shape. So I'm gonna go up like that. All the way up to the shoulders. This, maybe a bit more like that. I just noticed that this picture, the V looks actually much deeper. She seems to just be wearing it in a different... Well, this photo is taken from a different angle too, but... maybe not that high. I'll try it on. Maybe I'll just cut off a bit more. I just filmed the whole bit without turning on my microphone, so let's try this again. I just draped actually my new pattern piece onto the dress here to see what the shape looks like, and I think it's actually pretty okay. The side and the back I didn't touch at all. I'm going to just use the pattern, so I don't need to mock up those. And it's really only this neckline that I've changed. So looking at it now, I think it's a bit too big. So what I did is I flipped it over and I just traced where I think I should cut it out. So I'm going to take off about 1.5 centimeters on the top here. So I'm going to use this as my pattern piece. I was also talking about how I realized that I forgot a pattern piece when I was measuring out if I have enough of this fabric, which means I very likely don't have enough of this fabric. So I have decided to use this cotton as a supplement, and I'm gonna make my side front out of this. This little bit right here, so it's pretty much hidden under the arms anyway. So that little patch is going to be made out of this cotton, and I'm also going to use this for the lining, so it's going to be nice and consistent, and they match up fairly well, so I think that should be fine. And that way at least the most prominent parts, the front and the entire back, are going to be made of this leatherish material. I know the fit is alright, since I'm not going to be tampering with the lacing after all, so I'm fairly confident that I can just go ahead and cut out my pattern pieces and it's going to be fine. We can get started with that. I did something very stupid when I was cutting out the pattern pieces from my main fabric, the super precious fabric that I had like very little of. I used the pattern piece instead of this bit that I altered that I should have used. So my lining now doesn't match the front, and there's nothing else I can do besides cutting the altered lining to the size of the original pattern, which means that everything I did on that pattern piece was for nothing, but there is literally no other option because I have no more of that fabric. So there we go. The neckline is gonna be different. It happens, stuff like this happens when you're sewing, and all I can do now is roll with it. Don't know why I didn't put that pattern piece away straight away. It almost happened when I was cutting out the lining as well, but it didn't click in my mind that I should maybe do something about it then. It'll all be fine. Alrighty, we have the base of the corset top. And I like where this is going. I hate how busty it is. It really should have been higher, and I still can't believe I cut it wrong. Anyways, this pattern actually comes with a peplum. I have made this top before. Wait, I actually have it right here. As you can see, the top comes with a peplum in the back. And I feel like if I were to do just a little bit of this peplum, just a short one, like 5 centimeters, that could give the look of that elongated torso that is in the original dress, it actually flaring out and not just being a straight cut. So that way we don't actually drop the waist, create that visual, like that longer visual. And I think that would be great. And it will also give me the opportunity to use a bit more of that trim. On the original, there is trim around the top, or embroidery on the original. There will be embroidery around the top, then right under the breasts, and then on the bottom of the corset top. It'll be a couple rows of this, probably like 2 or 3, I think, for that peplum. And then same thing on the sleeve, it'll just be a couple of rows of this, and that will also just pull the whole thing together a bit more. I'm ready to get this thing finished, so I'm gonna go ahead and start applying my trim. We've made a plan. I'm gonna use mostly the thicker trim on the sleeves, and then around the edge here I'm gonna use the thinner trim. And I'm gonna see, I think I'm gonna do everything else first and see if I want to do another strip of trim just underneath the bust, if that's gonna look good or if it just looks a little bit weird, because obviously this is a different shape than the original. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can sew this on with the machine. That would save a lot of time, so hopefully that works. So let's give that a try. Alright, we have trim. I actually think it looks really nice. I made sure to leave the trim on top sticking out as far as possible so that the bodice would be a little bit higher. Still trying to somehow remedy that piece that I cut off. It's not gonna work. Anyways, I have 3 rows of the large trim on the bottom here with 1 row of the thin trim on top, just to kind of tie this together and make sure that that the pattern repeats. So next up I'm gonna work on these shoulder bits, and I kind of have no idea how I'm gonna do this, but I think it's okay if this is just a really simple shape, because it's only a sleeve cap. It doesn't have to actually do anything. Let's just take, oh, actually, I just found this cutout. This could actually be it. I think if I just do something like this, it'll actually be fine. I am very pleased with where this is going. It looks very weird on the mannequin, but the mannequin is just a weird shape. We're getting closer to the reveal, don't worry guys. So what I want to do now is some closure, because it needs, you know, to close somehow. I think it's pretty obvious it needs to close with a leather string. I think I have a leather, like a really old vintage at this point, leather string somewhere that I could use for this, but I don't want to do eyelets because I think those would just look off with this. I was hesitant about the buttons as well, and I think this would just work better with a thread eyelet. So luckily my sewing machine does those. I've never done it before, so I did a little test run and it actually seems to have worked pretty well. I hope it's sturdy enough, but this isn't something I'm gonna be wearing in daily life, so it doesn't matter if it's not the sturdiest thing in the world. It does need to be functional, of course. I think I could get away with gold colored eyelets, but I think they would just be too much and I don't want to draw attention to that area. So yeah, I'm gonna go with thread for now. Very happy with the sleeves. I think those look really, really great. I realized I don't know how this keeps happening to me, stuff like this, but I realized I attached all of the trim on the peplum here upside down. It's upside down. The nice side is on the inside. But at this point, I'm just accepting it. I'm not gonna go back and redo all of it yet. I might change my mind on that later, but for now, I'm done. I really like it like this. I don't think I'm gonna do the extra band of trim in the center. I think that'll just break it up in a weird and unnecessary way, and also it doesn't really make that much sense in this particular costume. On Eowyn's dress, the trim under the bust is the top trim of the bottom part, like of the corset top, and of course for me it's just one item, so it doesn't really make sense to have trim randomly running down the center of this garment. I don't think it looks good, so I'm gonna leave it like this. Very happy with this. I think this is absolutely stunning and actually much nicer than I was expecting. This looks like a fantasy garment and I'm actually really excited that I made this. Fantasy sewing. Yeah, this might be something I'm gonna have to explore a little bit more. It feels a little pointless to be making garments that I'm for sure not going to wear potentially ever, but it is a lot of fun. Let me figure out how I want to space these eyelets and get my sewing machine to work. Well guys, here she is in all her glory. The Eowyn Shieldmaiden inspired dress is finished. I love it. I feel so much regret that I didn't know how to do this back when I was a teenager and visiting all of these fantasy fairs like every other month, and all of them were still good. And I would have gotten so much wear out of something like this back then. It just makes me sad. When I first put this on, like the full thing, I just felt my inner teenager was so happy and excited. And it felt so good. 15-year-old Lucy would have adored this. I am very happy with it. So a couple of things I wish had been different. Obviously, mostly the bodice. I was so distracted while working on this corset top thing. There is so much going on in our house right now. We have people over all the time. The kitchen is being finished. We got solar panels installed. We are selling furniture online. We're working on the garden. There's just so much going on right now. And I'm also working on several videos at a time. My head was not in it. I ended up making some very silly mistakes. Still beating myself up over the fact that I didn't add this little bit of coverage, because it would have been so much better with it. And also attaching the trim inside out, I still don't understand how that happened, but it's fine. I think even with all of that considered, it still looks great and I am very happy with it. This is very close to what I had in mind when I set out to make this project and make a rendition of the Eowyn Shieldmaiden dress. I really, really like it. I'm very happy with it, and who knows, maybe I will get to wear it someday, somewhere, somehow. In terms of practicality, the dress itself closes with a zipper. a zipper on the side here. You can see the bottom of it. It's just a fairly simple zipper, honestly. The sleeve string thingy actually works pretty well. It does come off fairly quickly. I think if the string, like the loop itself, had been a bit thinner, it would hook behind the button a little bit better, but it does work, and I can wear the sleeve both ways. These arm ties are very hard to do on yourself. And probably the least practical thing about the entire ensemble. I'm sure someone like Eowyn would have people to help her dress, obviously, so that wouldn't be a problem for her. It's only a problem for us simple peasants. And even though this is definitely not a cosplay, I wasn't going for a cosplay or a direct replica of the dress, I do feel like this whole thing, for someone who is a Lord of the Rings fan, the inspiration behind this dress is recognizable, and that is kind of what I was going for. I am quite pleased with that. Oh, these sleeves are just everything. So thank you guys so much for coming along on this journey with me. It was a lot longer than I expected, but there was more to this than I expected in the first place. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up to let me know. It really helps my channel. And also be sure to subscribe to see what else I'm up to. I'm starting a new project very soon that I'm so excited about. I got some absolutely gorgeous fabric that I can't wait to share with you. So yeah, if you would like to support me through Patreon, there is a link in the description box below. Thank you so much for your support, guys. It really helps a lot over here. I actually used the donations to buy the fabric that is going to be my next project. I hope you have a wonderful day, guys, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!